The On the Mic podcast, we step away from the combat sports scene, and on NFL draft week, I had to reach out to my friend, former Chicago Bear, legend in my eyes, the one and only Jason McKie. He does it all. High school football coach. He's in recruiting season right now. You heard him on ESPN Chicago last season there in the Bears season. Will you be doing that again this year?
Yes.
That's awesome. See, so you just do everything and you make time for little old me. But man, Jason, first and foremost, thank you for coming back. It's been a while. We're in a point in time. Not only did the Bears have two first round picks rather, they have the number one pick for 2 years in a row. But we're in a time where we're like, we don't have to really talk about where should they go, right? Like we're like, where are they going? We know Caleb Williams is likely the number one pick, and I'll start there. As someone who's been in this city, who's donned that uniform, and I'm guessing would have liked to play in that new stadium they just released pictures of. How important is it for the Bears, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, not just for team success, but for the city of Chicago? How important is it to nail this pick of Caleb Williams?
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, you look at the seasons the Bears have had, season after season not making the playoffs. It's been a while since the Bears have put a real productive product out there on the field. And despite all that, we still have, anticipation. We still have hype around the Bears because Ryan Poles has come in and put the Bears in a situation in the offseason via the draft to make this team better and to be at the forefront of the draft, not just this year's draft, but last year's draft as well. So I think having Ryan Poles, that addition, and the guys that he's brought around him in terms of evaluating players and bolstering this roster, making it competitive. I think he's done a great job. So I think that's where the excitement has been generated. Despite the season we had last year, like you talked about, in your intro, we have the first pick and the number 9th pick. So it's very exciting times here in Chicago. Like you said, they announced the new stadium renovation today. So as Bears fans and as a Bears organization, there's a lot to look forward to. I think the arrow is definitely pointing up. When you look at this roster in terms of when Ryan Poles took over to where it is now, it's night and day. Even the roster from when he took over to last year's roster was night and day. But it's really going to be night and day, when the Bears take the field this year. So, as a former player, I'm excited. I have an opportunity to be around a lot of those guys in the locker room. Yeah, Mike, your poster fell out.
Yeah. It definitely did.
It's just your poster has tears because it loves the way the Bears is trending right now. That's why it fell out. But yeah, man, I think when you look at the guys in the locker room, right, the guys that Ryan Poles and Coach Matt Eberflus that they have been adding, to this team, the one common theme is, they talk about, first and foremost, you got to have guys that love football. Yeah, not just love football. They got to be high character guys that love football. They got to be great teammates, and they got to be passionate about their craft and what they do. So they have a profile in terms of what they think a Chicago Bear should look like. And I like the profile that they have. And when you look at the players that they've brought in, they all have those traits and match that profile. So I'm looking forward to seeing, them add guys via this draft that match the profile. Even though we only have 4 picks, 4 important picks. Caleb, obviously number 1, and then who knows what they're going to do number 9 and so on.
Well, with that being said, for so long, like I was mentioning, it's always been as relevant as Bears defense and running back history has been. Obviously, there's always been this narrative of they can't develop quarterbacks. Don't draft a quarterback. You can't get one. You played with Jay Cutler. We've seen the Mitch Trubisky era. We saw the Justin Fields era. I got a question on him later. But what can you say to Bears fans and critics alike who are going, well, they're going to get another quarterback and they're probably going to fail this one? Is Caleb Williams a guy who you pretty much can't fail with him?
Now, I'm not going to say you can fail with anybody. There's not a sure, like all these guys, right? All these guys are being evaluated based off of their potential, right? You look at what they did in college and you're saying, will that translate, what I see on film, on their college film, will that translate to the NFL? And when you're evaluating quarterbacks, that's what they're evaluating. Does their collegiate tape, does their skill set, right, everything that they do from a quarterback standpoint, is that translatable to the NFL game? And I think we look at Caleb and the way today's NFL game is played, that's why everybody was so enamored with him. That's why the Bears are so enamored with him, because they feel like he does have a skill set that's translatable to the NFL game, right? You talk about, him being a quarterback in terms of what he's showing on film, showing the ability to do a lot of different things, right? You talk about operating within the pocket. He shows the ability to be able to play within the framework of a pocket, to be able to play within the framework of a scheme of an offense, right? Making on timing throws, getting a ball out when he needs to, being able to manipulate the pocket and step up and make clutch throws. But he's also shown you the ability in terms of, what we see not a lot of quarterbacks have in the NFL, being able to extend plays beyond the pocket and be able to create on his own when things break down. And a lot of times in the NFL, right, I don't care what type of offensive line you have, you may have the best, five guys out there in terms of pass protection, but there's going to be a time when that defense is bringing one more than you can block. And hey, you're going to ask that quarterback, hey, be you and go make a play. So he's showing you the ability to do that, right? He's showing you that he has the ability to extend plays with his legs, right? But he's also showing you the ability to be able to get that ball out from any different arm angle and delivered with accuracy. So I think that's when you have a quarterback that can do all of those things, and you've seen it over and over again on his collegiate film, and he's had success doing it. You say, man, you know what? The things he's doing is translatable to an NFL game, and I think that's why everybody's, the Bears are excited that he, hopefully will be a Chicago Bear come tomorrow.
How important is it how this regime has almost seamlessly built it for Caleb in terms of we have a defensive minded coach, and I agree. I believe there's been several people on like ESPN, NFL Network saying you have to sign Eberflus to an extension because you're bringing in this rookie quarterback. You don't want to put him in a situation where he's got a lame duck coach. And I do believe if success starts early, we will see Eberflus get that extension. But they're bringing in, they didn't even meet with him as a front office. They sent him to dinner with players on the team, veterans on the team. And then they went and got Keenan Allen. And I know Keenan Allen said they had a throwing session, I think last week, with Allen, DJ Moore, and Roma Dunze. More on him in a second. But how important is it how they're doing it? They don't have a guy who's trying to come in and work with Caleb and recreate an offensive playbook. They're gonna provide him their team, their playbook. And they've got these veterans around him. Instead of having him to find and develop chemistry with young players, they establish a core of veterans for Caleb to walk into if he is the pick. How important is that for his development?
Yeah, 100%. A key word you talked about is development. And that's something that I think, a lot of people, don't really understand. We're so enamored with the now, having success now, but football is all about development, right? And you look at the teams that have had success in this league, right? Right. They're upper echelon players, right? Those guys are developed and they're making plays. But guess what? When those guys leave or those guys get injured, that next player, that backup steps in and gives you the same production that starter did. And they're able to sustain that season and continue their winning ways. Well, here in Chicago, I think that, we failed year after year in terms of developing our players, developing our talent behind our front end players. And I think that's why you've seen the lack of success, each and every season. And development is so critical. It's so key, especially with a young athlete. We're talking about a quarterback, right? You can't just, yes, he has the talent and skill set that I just talked about. But at the same time, you can't just throw him out there because the NFL game is different. The speed is faster. Guys are bigger. You know what I'm saying? So he has to adjust. His game has to adjust. And, giving him the infrastructure, right? Having veteran guys around him, having veteran receivers around him, making sure that he has an offensive line, right? That's going to keep him upright, is very critical, right? And having a scheme that's really going to accentuate his skill set, right? But not really put everything on him to be that guy to go in and have to win a game for you, right? Right away. So I think what they've done is awesome. You talked about Keenan Allen. I'm a huge Keenan Allen fan. I think, he's a quarterback friendly receiver because he's a great detailed route runner with good hands. So, in terms of, we talked about Caleb playing in the framework of an offense, right? You talk about timing. Well, Keenan's a receiver that, hey, if you want him to run that 3-step slant, you can get that ball out on your third step as a quarterback on your drop back, and Keenan's going to be there to receive that football. And that's what I mean by having a quarterback, a receiver that's quarterback friendly. being able to be, his somewhat security blanket out there, knowing that he's going to be where he's supposed to be when you drop back. And then having a dynamic player like DJ Moore, right, where you can take shots and, he's a guy that's tough. He's shown you the ability to make plays, whether he's going across the middle, having a contested catch, or whether he's going to get hit. And he's a guy that can hold on to the ball, but also being able to take the top off of defense and beat a defense vertically. So, and then, you add in Cole Kmet, a tough tight end. You bring in Gerald Everett, another tight end that can really put stress on the defense. You bring in DeAndre Swift, who can, he's an every down back. He's effective inside on the inside running game. He's effective outside on the perimeter, but he's also a back that you can split out wide, get him in space, get him mismatched on a linebacker as well. So when you look at the weapons that he has around him, the weapons that they brought in around him, he's definitely set up for success. I think that, I think if he doesn't have success early, like us as Bears fans, we're going to be on him just because of the year that you look at what CJ Stroud did last year. But the same thing, CJ Stroud, I don't think he had as many weapons that Caleb's has right now. But at the same time, I think the system that they have down there in Houston was quarterback friendly, and it was set up for a quarterback to have success and to be successful. And I think the main thing, if I was offensive coordinator and I was Caleb's coach, is I would make sure that the playbook goes as he goes. So as much as he can handle, that's as much as I'm going to put in. And if he doesn't understand something, or he's not being successful at something, but I'm not going to try to force my scheme on. I'm not going to try to force a play or force a concept on him that he's not understanding, or he's not having success with in practice, because, in a game, it's not going to work. So I think as he goes, this offense should go, even though he has veterans around him. Like, it's got to go at the speed that he's progressing and developing.
Last one on Caleb Williams, and then just a few more, and I appreciate your time. The biggest thing, as someone who spent so long, a big part of your life in the NFL and with the Chicago Bears, what is Caleb Williams going to have to do to win the respect of his teammates in the locker room and in this city? Because, so many people have said the Bulls could be winning, the Blackhawks could be winning, the Cubs and White Sox could be in the World Series together. But if the Chicago Bears are winning, Chicago is on fire. So
100%.
what does Caleb Williams have to do? Because there's so many storylines off the field of him. Is he a drama queen? All this, prima donna, all this. But to come into such a historic franchise with a city that is so proud of their team, win, lose, or tie, what does he have to do to win over his teammates and win over the city?
Yeah, the main thing is you got to come in and work. The quarterback is like you're the focal piece of the team, whether you want that responsibility or not. So especially in a big market like Chicago, all eyes is on you. Every practice snap is going to be evaluated here in training camp. I'll be one of those guys at camp evaluating every snap. Every snap you take on the field is always evaluated. Everything you do is going to be evaluated. How you are in the community, Caleb, whatever you're doing is going to be evaluated. But the main thing in terms of the important thing is the locker room, right? You've got to come in as a rookie, put your head down and go to work, right? And you've got to show the guys in that locker room, especially the veterans, that you're just one of the guys. This is a different market than you being out there in Hollywood. This is Chicago, a hardworking blue collar town, and he's got to develop that type of attitude, that type of persona. But at the same time, I think that he has to be himself, because being himself is what got him here. But I think as a young rookie coming in, you got to show the guys that all you care about is putting in your work, developing, and putting the team, on your back if necessary, and try to go out there and win games. So, if the guys say, "Hey, look here, man, we're going bowling, man. You want to come out bowling with us?" And you say, "Oh, I can't make it." All right, the first time may be excused, but when you get to the third and fourth time you do that, now guys are going to question, is he bigger than the team? And that's an opportunity for you to bond with your guys. And I know it sounds simple when you're talking about bowling, and the outside people may say, "Oh, that doesn't make sense. That's dumb." But guess what? That makes a lot of sense, because when you're away from that facility, that's prime bonding time. That's when you really know about your teammate as a person and not just a player. And that when you have that type of chemistry, that translates to wins. And I think that's why my time in Chicago, we were so successful, because we had that bond and we had that brotherhood off the field. And then you could see it transferred on the field, because, we were going to do whatever we could for our brother. We were going to go to war for our brother. And, I think that really helped us have a lot of success here in Chicago.
And it's a brotherhood that stayed even after your playing days with all your former teammates. Plus, when you go bowling, you usually go to dinner afterwards, and someone's got to
Yeah.
give Caleb that bill, right?
Oh,
Someone's gonna
100%.
have to.
He's gonna have to pay the bill. He probably got to handle that bill a couple times, and that's the way you can win him over too. He's like, hey man, Caleb, hey, come on, you come with us. Caleb's buying dinner tonight. You know what I'm saying? That's a quick way.
I started this off by saying we finally come into a draft going, we're not sure where they're going to go. They should go here. They should go there. But we still do have to have that conversation at pick 9. I threw up a poll this morning because I knew I was going to talk to you, and it was 38% split between two picks. It was either draft a wide receiver or trade back. We have seen Ryan Poles with decent success in the mid to late rounds continuously since we getting brought on board. But J-Mac, I will tell you this. I used to tell you this when I worked with you. I consider you a longtime friend. You know, when I latch on to guys, I latch onto them, and I think they're the greatest thing ever. And I like Marvin Harrison Jr., but I think Rome Odunze is just as good, if not better. And if you bring him to Chicago with those weapons around, you can sign me up. Sign me up, give them 7-year contracts right off the bat, even though you can't do that. What
Yeah.
do you think the Bears' best move at 9 should be?
Yeah, and I'll just go on a little bit about Romo Dunze. I like, don't get me wrong, Marvin Harrison is a huge talent, great athlete. He's from Philly. You know, the fields that his high school played on, you know, was right behind Temple University School that I went to. So I've been out there and had an opportunity to see, you know, Marvin Harrison, DeAndre Swift play in high school. They played on the field a lot, very talented players. And I think, yes, he is one of the top, you know, listed as a top receiver in his draft, but you know, on my board, and I'm not Daniel Jeremiah or Mark Mayock or Mike Mayock or any of them guys, but on J-Mac's board, I don't have him rated as a number one receiver. I have Malik Neighbors. Then I would say Marvin Harrison, then Rome Odunze. I'm a huge fan of Rome. I think he has the size, speed combination that you're looking for from a receiver. But when you look at him, look at the plays he makes, right? You look at it in terms of contested catches, right? And he wins a lot of those matchups, right? And in this league, you're gonna have to make contested catches all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he has a skill set that he's shown you on a consistent basis that he's able to make plays, but he's also able to make consistent catches. And I think that's, you know, why I'm so enamored with Rome Odunze. But for me though, at number 9, saying all that, I would trade down. I think that it's a rich wide receiver class. Would I be now? If they do draft him at 9, I'm happy. You know what I mean? Because I want the Bears to win regardless. But at the same time, you know, if I was GM, if I was J Mac Poles, I would trade back, and then I would look to get an offensive tackle, left tackle in particular. I think that is, you know, obviously that's the premier position on the offensive line, and when you've seen, you know, somewhat of a beating that Justin Fields took last year, and we look at the offensive line carousel that we had last year. You know, bringing in a rookie quarterback, you want to make sure that he has an opportunity to get the ball to his playmakers, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, DeAndre Swift. You want to make sure that he's upright, has the time to get the ball to those receivers, because the worst thing that you can do in this league, right? And we've seen it over and over again with a lot of these quarterbacks that haven't had success in this league, right? It's not because they're not talented, right? It's because they're getting hit, because these teams haven't had the infrastructure to protect their quarterback, one from a physical side, but two from a mental side, in terms of having the right scheme to make sure that they have a chance to be successful, right? And if you have that, right, the quarterback can lose confidence, because now he's saying, every time I drop back, you know, I've got to watch that defensive end because my left tackle, he can't block him one-on-one. You know what I mean? And so many times the Bears, what we try to do is we try to put a band-aid on a wound that requires stitching, and we don't address the elephant in the room. You need offensive linemen and you need depth, and we just overlook that. We try to patchwork it here, and the same thing happens. That wound gets open through the season. Now we're complaining about the O-line. Oh, we can't block anybody. Well, guess what? You had 4 or 5 tackles available for you, right? At you know, say we trade back, so it could be at, you know, I wouldn't trade back past 15. But I would trade back enough to where I can get a Olu Fashanu from Penn State, who's a teammate of Caleb Williams in high school, J.C. Latham from Alabama, Talisi Fuaga. I don't think he'll be available. Troy Fatano may be available at that time. I think Joe Alt, who I really like, I think he'll be gone. But you'll have an opportunity to get a tackle that can really help solidify that position. And I know we have Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones has played 28 career games, right? He's been in and out of the lineup. And the one thing we see Braxton Jones struggle with, right, is the bull rush, right? But if you can get a guy who has the potential, just like we did last year at number 10, picking Darnell Wright, to be your bookend tackles for years to come, protecting that number one draft pick at quarterback that you're going to invest in, I think it definitely helps set us up for success, offensively. So if that's my pick, move down and get one of these tackles. And if not, if you move down, I would take a defensive lineman because we know you got to get pressure on the quarterback. And we weren't getting no pressure until Montez Sweat came over. Montez Sweat came over, that elevated everybody else's play on the defensive line. But at the same time, teams, they're going to have a year to actually adjust to Montez being on that side of the ball, and they will devise the protection scheme to take him out of the game. And then what's going to happen? Who's going to get pressure on the quarterback? Right now, we don't have anybody. DeMarcus Walker, 3.5 sacks last year. Dominic Robinson was a tight end they converted at the end. He had a half a sack. A half a sack, Mike. A half. Not a whole sack, a half a sack.
He just fell on top of somebody at the end of a play. He just said, I got it. Hold on, I got the foot.
A half. He didn't even get a full sack. You got a half a sack, So I think, you got to go in the trenches. So I'm happy if they go O or D line. That would be my pick to trade back and to get an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. But if not, if they take Rome Odunze, I hope he has a plan in place to address those other positions of need, because there's an obvious, need at tackle, and there's an obvious need at an edge guy.
Exciting times in Chicago. There's a few more, and then I'll let you get out of here. You mentioned him. I know you covered him last year. He was definitely the storyline of last year's Bears season, and that's quarterback Justin Fields. Now, it came out today from Adam Schefter that the Pittsburgh Steelers, who traded for him, will not pick up his option. So they have Russell Wilson on one more year, and they've got Justin Fields on one more year, and they're saying Russell Wilson's the starter. As a veteran in the NFL, how should and what should be the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because I'm almost ready to ask you, is it almost best for Justin Fields to go the Baker Mayfield way, right? Kind of get cast off to a couple teams, show a little bit of success somewhere, and then maybe not this year, but maybe next year, you find a spot and you find the right coach and you find the right team, and now he has this resurgence, just like Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, man, Justin's he's an elite competitor, man. And I've had, like I said, I had an opportunity to be around him a lot last year. Not just, in the locker room after games, but, Justin's a guy who came to the high school where I coach at and worked out there. And I had the opportunity to be out there when he's working out. And, I think he's a tremendous person, despite all the he's had a lot of success when he was in high school. He's the number one athlete recruit in the country coming out. Obviously, the career at Ohio State and then being a high draft pick here. Like, he's a humble guy, hardworking guy. He works his tail off. And, I know it meant something to him, to be successful, because he's been successful every step he's taken. And I think if you look back, this may be the first stop that you could say he wasn't successful, and him going to Pittsburgh, I think it's going to just, light another fire into him. So, I anticipate, I'm a Russell Wilson fan. I think he's gotten a little older now, and that's why he's been cast away, here a few times. But I think Justin, in my opinion, is going to win that battle just because of the unique skill set that he has. And, I think that when you have a coach like Mike Tomlin, who I think Justin's in a great situation, right? Because Mike, you look at what his body of work he's done there. He's never had a losing season in Pittsburgh. And I think him having the opportunity to have two quarterbacks, and I think, if Russell loses that job, I think Russell does have the character to where he can continue to help and mentor Justin Fields. And that's something that Justin didn't have here. When he came here, he didn't have a guy he can look back at who had success in the league that he can look back and say, hey, let me see what he does. You look at Green Bay, right? Aaron Rodgers came there, he had Brett Favre. You know what I'm saying? And then after Brett Favre left, they draft Jordan Love. Jordan Love, you have Aaron Rodgers to look at. So Justin's never had that situation. And I think, that even though you're in a competition battle with Russell Wilson, I think it gives you an opportunity to sit back and look and say, okay, how does this guy prepare? How does he do things? A guy who has success, who's won a Super Bowl in this league, what is he doing? Okay, now I can take a little bit of what he's doing and just, mold that into what I do. And I think that'll help Justin a lot. So I'm excited at his opportunity at Pittsburgh. I think he's going to do really well. I think when it's all said and done, that Justin, I think he'll end up winning that battle.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued, to say the least. Last two here for you. Biggest news of the day: Reggie Bush gets his Heisman Trophy back. It only took way
Man,
too long for it to happen. I said the moment they introduced NIL, and
man.
now you're a high school coach, right? So you're going through all this. The moment they introduced NIL, the first call should have been, "Hey Reggie, these college athletes are going to really start making money off their name, image, and likeness. Here's your trophy back." How much
100%.
of a win is this, and a good look for college football? Because hands down, in my opinion, and not just in my lifetime, but in overall in the history of college football, that is one of, if not the most electrifying college football player we've ever seen. And
Man,
nothing
100%.
off the field was related to him winning it on the field. And
Right.
I think great move by the Heisman Trust.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it took too long, especially with a guy like Reggie Bush, who, he on the field he did it the right way. It wasn't like he was taking something illegal that enhanced his performance. Right? He's doing what everybody's doing right now. They're getting money to play. They're getting paid to play college football, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that hey, they finally got it right, and I'm glad he got it back because when you talk about the greatest players to ever lace up cleats on the collegiate level, that conversation Reggie Bush always has to be in that conversation no matter what. And that's the type of player he was. He was must-see TV. I remember him in college, and I'm like, man, I want to see what Reggie's going to do today. He was that dynamic. And, to have the type of career he had in the NFL and, he's been a stand-up guy, you definitely, I think he earned that Heisman. He earned that Heisman. The money that he got for playing the game didn't help him win that Heisman. He earned that on the field. So I'm glad he got it back. I'm glad they did the right thing and gave Reggie Bush back his Heisman.
Big week for USC Trojan football. Did you what? I know you're a boxing guy, so I'm stepping away from football. Did you watch Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney?
Yeah, that was a crazy fight, man. I was yeah, I mean Devin Haney, like I've never been a fan of Devin Haney. I've always said he wasn't. To me, I just didn't think he was, that type of elite boxer. You know what I mean? Just because he has, in my opinion, he has two pillows instead of two gloves on his hand. He hits, what I mean, he has no punching power. And we saw Ryan Garcia. I mean, obviously he's a little unorthodox in terms of his defense, turns his back, stuff like that. But I'm not even gonna say Ryan Garcia is an elite boxer, but what he does have is he has a puncher's chance with that left hook, and we saw it over and over again. And when you have a guy, you're supposed to be an elite boxer, right? You've got to have the mental makeup to be able to dissect what your opponent is trying to do. And all Ryan Garcia was trying to do was hit him with that left hook, and Devin Haney could not. He had no answer for it. He had no answer for it. He had no defense for it. He had no movement for it. He kept getting hit with it, and that's why at the end of the day, Ryan Garcia did his thing. So I think it's definitely good for boxing. I'm excited to see what's next for boxing. I'm a huge Terrence Crawford fan. I'm ready to see what he's going to do. I think they just announced his fight. Didn't they announce his fight or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, in August, I believe it is. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I would love to see him fight Canelo. I like Boots Ennis as well. I think he's a talented fighter. But in terms of in terms of the boxing world, I think we're in a good place right now with boxing because there's so many good, young, hungry, talented prospects coming out. And the good thing is now they're all fighting each other. They're all trying to fight each other,
Finally.
just like boxing in the past. I mean, you had Lennox Lewis fighting, Riddick Bowe and Mike Tyson fighting Evander Holyfield. Like that was the golden era of boxing, and now we're starting to see a golden era, a revitalization of a golden era in boxing in which the top guys are fighting the top guys. So it's exciting, man. I will be tuned in to have my popcorn ready for all these fights.
Well, and we have Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson. So there's that.
Yeah,
No, hey, J Mac, I appreciate your time. You're doing amazing stuff, with the Bears on ESPN radio, but most importantly, with the next generation of football players. And I've got to give a lot of respect to you for wearing a good friend of ours who's passed away, JD Jeff Dickerson. So I have to end with this because JD was one of the most premier journalists, and it would be foolish of me to not ask a journalistic JD type question. You're doing great work at the high school level. Has there ever been thoughts of going from high school to the upper ranks in your future? College, pros, anything of
yeah,
that nature?
yeah. As a coach, as a coach, you want to continue to move up. But in the coaching world, when we look at high school coaching, it's not a step down. It's not like Division III. It's not like the NFL is D1 and college is D2 and high school is D3. It's just in terms of where you want to coach, right? And what you want to do and time commitment and who you want to impact. And right now, I feel like my calling is to really impact high school athletes. And impact them in a way to get them prepared for life. And I have the beauty of doing that through the game of football. The game of football teaches us life lessons. So every day I get an opportunity to develop men through the game of football. And that's where I'm at right now. Have I had opportunities to leave and go coach college? Yes. Do I think I can go coach college? Yes, in a heartbeat. So right now I like where I'm at. We've had a lot of success. We have a lot of guys going on and getting opportunities to play college ball. Guys, will have opportunities after college to get good jobs because of the foundation that we've been able to set here with our football program. So, when the time comes, I would love to move up if that opportunity presents itself. It's got to be at the right school, the right situation, the right level. So, NFL level, possibly, collegiate level, possibly, but it's got to be the right situation. I think right now I'm in the right situation. I'm around a lot of, my coaching staff is a really good staff, and I just like where I'm at right now. So, as of right now, I don't anticipate, moving on, but I'm never gonna say never. Everybody's looking for an opportunity, and the opportunities that you get presented with is because of your body of work. And I've been blessed and been in great situations, and my body of work I feel like speaks for itself just because of the work ethic, the way I attack things, and because of my character. So, I'm excited. I'm excited about where I'm at, and I'll always be excited about the opportunities that's presented to me.
I appreciate it. Hopefully, I made Jeff Dickerson proud with that question. I had to ask that one question, man. I appreciate it. And I say this wholeheartedly. You helped develop me at a very young, going into late teens, early 20s, when we started working together, and then eventually became friends. So those guys at your high school, they have no idea how lucky they are, because I know what you did for me, and I'm not just saying that because you're on the other side of the screen. I'm saying it because it's true. So if they're getting it through the knowledge of football, high school, and life, they're super blessed. And I know the Chicagoland area is blessed to have coaches and your coaching staff that you have help leading this next generation. So I just need, as a guy who never went to a real college, I need you to coach somewhere so I can wear a real university stuff and proudly represent for my guy Jason McKie. I can't do that right now. But I try to support you and all that you do in every way that I can, and I appreciate you making the time for me today.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're doing well. Keep it going, and you got me. If you need me, you got my number, man. Blessings all day.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right, take care, man.